and welcome to What's Next Wall Street. If y'all could see what happens before we get started, you would crack up laughing as well.
I don't know what she's talking about.
I'm Georgia Alfredas.
And I'm Dave Matthews. Now, this is a show about stocks, crypto, and the new decentralized financial Web3 world all around us.
Now, I've got details on all the hot new trending products that everybody's talking about using and investing in. And today, I'm talking about my favorite pastime. No, Dave, not shopping.
Oh,
and not you. Streaming films and how to invest in both.
All right, I'm going to talk about how you can be extra careful with the sudden influx of hackers attempting to take control of your online accounts, thanks to the Russian invasion of Ukraine and our new global cyber war.
Yeah, so we've got Greg Krause, lead instructor at OptionsPlayers.com. He's our expert, okay? Greg charts a lot of these companies that we talk about, and those chart indicators can show where a particular stock is headed so that it's a lot easier for you to target investment potential. So what Greg does is combine technical analysis with fundamental knowledge.
Right, our goal is to help you become a more informed trader with a tailored trade plan, so that you can stay up to speed with what's next on Wall Street and stack some financial gains.
That's right. You can email us at OptionsPlayers.com or hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street with your questions. We can also direct you to instructors and experts over at Options Players who dig into those trading fundamentals.
Now, you can watch this show on Options Players YouTube channel or listen to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Now, whether you're listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the alert button so that you always know what's next on Wall Street. And don't be stingy with your stars. Give us all the stars, okay?
We
want
5.
all. Yes, please, please.
Now, we've had some spirited conversations about unions here on What's Next Wall Street, and we're not the only ones. So Tesla CEO Elon Musk is daring the United Auto Workers Union to hold a unionization vote at the electric car maker's factory in the San Francisco Bay Area. Musk tweeted, "I'd like to hereby invite the UAW to hold a union vote at their convenience. Tesla will do nothing to stop them," Musk tweeted that Tesla's biggest challenge is the ultra-competitive Bay Area labor market. He said workers will just leave his company if he doesn't treat and compensate them well.
So I love that we're able to hear what company heads are thinking in real time these days. Say what you want about Musk, but by using social media the way he does, he's able to have his pulse on the people, and we in turn are able to kind of see what direction his company is going and where it's headed, at least for that moment, you know.
Well, then, Georgia, you'll really like this. Musk is also calling for an expansion of the U.S. oil and gas development sector. He recently tweeted, "Hate to say it, but we need to increase oil and gas output immediately. Sustainable energy solutions simply cannot react instantaneously to make up for Russian oil and gas exports." He went on to say that this would hurt Tesla, but come on. We either need to go full nuclear to rid ourselves of Russia, meaning power plants, not the atom bomb,
wow,
or figure out how to get electrically sustainable.
Yes, you scared me there for a minute. I was like, whoa.
Full nuclear?
Yes, like, whoa.
I was channeling my inner Ronald Reagan.
Oh my gosh. He also tweeted that some governments had requested that Starlink block Russian news sources and that they would not do it unless at gunpoint. Okay, Elon, tell us how you really feel. In other sustainable energy news, 6 companies who have agreed to pay more than $4.3 billion for the right to build wind energy turbines off the coast of New York and New Jersey. 6 of them, the record-breaking bids are said to be a major milestone to renewable energy in the U.S. or for renewable energy in the U.S. Now, it was a 3-day auction, and it was the highest grossing energy auction ever in this country, including oil and gas leases. These 6 companies that bid on the sites have the potential to generate enough energy to power 2 million homes by 2030. Now, building the turbines is going to create thousands of jobs. So a couple of questions to the panel here. I don't see a downside to wind energy. Are there any? That's number one. Are there any downsides? And for you, Greg, what does this mean for investing in coal, oil, and natural gas?
So downside to wind power. Yes, if there wasn't a downside, then that's all we would use, right? Now, you're not asking me for the positive sides, okay? There are, of course, positive sides. It's not as bad as fossil fuels or, emit greenhouse gases. But first, the cost. they really aren't cost efficient until about 20 years. But then windmills also need repair and maintenance. So that comes into an issue. But those costs have gone down greatly in the last decades. And the old ones weren't really recyclable. So you just have large fields. I think they said something by like 2050, it would be like 50 million tons of just scrap from the current windmills. Can you imagine what that would be later? So those are a few downsides that we have to really think about. But I look at it. I did a publication that was really following the Apollo mission, but we looked at power. That was one thing that we were looking at, is how do we power the Earth? We're basically talking about moonshots, right? So, you know, if we got a man on the moon in 10 years, how can we not solve this power issue that we have, you know, of green? We could, we're just not really throwing the money at it, to be honest. So with that, you have nuclear power and everything else. And talking about Elon Musk, here he goes again. I think it was today he tweeted he told the European countries, go nuclear. And then they yelled at him. He was like, you invite me, I'll go eat I'll eat lunch from like sourced food from that nuclear contamination or something. It was a weird text. It was an Elon Musk text.
Yes.
Right? But wind, I look at it this way, and there's been studies, and I don't want to misinformation. So there's people that are yelling both ways. You have wind. Wherever you want to think about how wind is started is by temperature. Okay, so that's how wind starts. Now you have the third law of motion, right? You have wind coming, you have this little windmill, it hits it, makes it spin. So, you know, but then that adjusts the wind. So what does that do long-term away from the local area? It's never been studied. They've only studied at that local point. And at that local point, they found out that it reduces the moisture in the air. It raises the ground temperature slightly. And then they said, well, it could help farmers. It doesn't really affect much, but it stops frost. I don't know. I'm not going to go back into a science class. I'm not a science teacher, but frost is basically dew, right? So relative humidity, it got colder. The air can't hold it. As it gets colder, lets out its condensation. That's what dew is. But then if the ground surface temp is freezing, it's frost, not water, it's ice, right? Well, they say it prevents that. Well, that's warming. So how is that helping anything? But the big issue was that I saw in one study coming out of Harvard was the dehumidifying of the crops. So a lot of times these farmers are the ones planting this, and it was actually pulling the moisture out of their crops, putting it back into the air. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I look at it this way. If you have wind, and that wind is naturally doing whatever it's supposed to do and God's will, or whatever you want to say, and then you put something there, third law of motion, it's taking away that energy. So what's that doing long term? I don't know. We'll find out in 200 years, you know, and then everybody will show you a study where it's all good. And then 200 years later, they'll say it's bad.
But what about the birds? The birds, which, by the way, the birds are aliens or robots or drones or something,
Yeah,
right?
so
Have you seen
birds
the
and
theme
bats,
about that going around?
No.
They say birds and bats, right? They hit them. I don't know. I look at a bat maybe hitting it, but a bird, look, if a bird hits a windmill, that's just evolution. Like, come on, bird.
Darwinism.
It's
Darwinism.
You see the thing swinging at you. Don't go near it.
I mean, you know how big they are when a bird hit it? I mean, they're so huge.
Yeah, and when you stand under them,
Yeah.
which I've gone to, you know, check them out in California or the top of mountains, and you can really hear them cutting through the wind. So
Yeah,
it's not
they're
like
huge.
it's
Yeah.
going to sneak up.
I lived in Hawaii for a while, and we had them there, but you know, I never saw a bird get hit by one. So I look at it this way. There's always negatives to anything. And when you want to look at the cons of something and they're hidden and nobody's really talking about it, then that's the issue that I want to look for. And windmills are one of those where it seems so good, but then you just think about it, common sense, that you're affecting the wind. Therefore, you're affecting climate in some way. If you remove moisture from the air, however that is, it's because of the drag. I'm not going to get scientific with you. What happens? Well, you're getting, if you remove moisture from the air, it feels warmer, right? If you ever had a
But I
swamp
think,
cooler.
putting a lot of pollution from coal or burning a fossil fuel versus, the wind's always going to be there. So I would argue that the windmills aren't blowing the ground. So, but anyway,
So you're saying some people are saying this renewable energy is creating climate change. So basically,
yeah,
doing
that's, I think
Well,
that's,
yes, in a way, because you say, oh, the windmill's there, the wind's always going to be there. But the wind cannot make that spin without affecting the momentum or the motion energy of the wind. So if you have a 10-mile-an-hour wind hit it, what comes out of that? It can't be a 10-mile-an-hour wind behind it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, on a small scale now, that's not an issue. And then the study said if we powered like basically all of the United States, it would have a 1 degree Fahrenheit would get warmer by 1 degree Fahrenheit from just that. Stop the motion of the wind slowing down. Wow. That's a lot, but is it better than oil?
Or coal? That's what, yeah.
But is it better than nuclear? Is it better than solar? There's always downsides to everything. Nothing is a plus. Think about having nothing but windmills all over the place. Is that going to be something you want? I don't know. Do you want nuclear plants? I look at solar and most renewable energies as the best that we have now, but don't work because as power consumption continues to grow, it doubles basically every decade, especially with all these emerging economies. There's just not going to be anywhere to put all this solar and all this wind stuff. And people go, we have the forest. Well, we can't cut down the forest. That's what you're complaining about anyways. That's what gets rid of all those greenhouse gases.
Yeah, I just read that Amazon's now at the tipping point where if no more trees are harvested from there, or if they're harvested in an ecologically friendly way, we're going to be okay. But if they continue to, slash and burn the forests, the Amazon will only be a grassland, which blows my mind. So well done, world.
I think there's a lot of things to look on the energy side, but now how to invest in it. I'm not a big investor in windmills, and I wouldn't even know where to start with that. Okay. But there are plenty of just go out there and find like an ETF that is doing renewable energy, and then find one that goes along with what you want. And now that's if you want to invest based upon your principles. I invest based upon my cash. So I'm going to have to look at that company and things like that. Right.
That's a good idea because like companies like Siemens or General Electric are probably in the place of doing that kind of business. But then you're going to get lumped into, all of their different subsidiaries. So the ETF is probably the right way to do that. So cool. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks. Let's talk about ShipStation. There are times when I think life is going to be less crazy. Perfect example. Sorry. Okay, last time. 3, 2, 1. Let's talk about ShipStation. There are times when I think life is going to be less crazy. Perfect example during spring break. No uniforms, no homework, no morning arguments about why Morgan always has better snacks than Blake, or why it's my fault that a certain teenager can't remember where his jersey is. Smooth sailing during spring break. Except when it's not. Like when I'm sitting on the beach, relaxing, watching the kids play in the sand, and suddenly I remember those bags I sold that need to go out ASAP. All right. This is why I love ShipStation. You can automate just about any shipping task with just a few clicks from anywhere, including sitting on the beach. Manage every order, Amazon, eBay, Etsy, or your own website from anywhere, even your phone.
So if you're a pro eBay seller like me, or have a garage full of stuff you haul from estate sales or Amazon return pallets, then you need ShipStation.
Yep.
They have up to 70% off with some shippers, automated packing slips, along with sides for postage labels, and integration with email tracking numbers for the ultimate ease of use for your small business.
Yes.
Ship more in less time with ShipStation. Use our offer code WNWS to get a 60-day free trial. That's 2 months free of no hassle, stress-free shipping.
Go to ShipStation.com, click on the microphone at the top of the page, and type in WNWS ShipStation. Make ship happen.
Hey, today's pro tip is about not fighting the trend. I'm sure you've heard it, but it's not just a catchy saying. It's a legit tip. Trying to fight a trend is similar to another saying called catching a falling knife, which you can hear about on a prior show. The visual on that is similar to the results for those that ignore. always make sure your reversal is confirmed before trying to play against recent trends. It will save you money and anxiety, which is important for all of us. I hope that helps you stack some great gains.
All right, so this is one of my favorite parts of the show. If you have questions or comments, we want to hear from you. You can post on our YouTube page, or you can hit us up on social media, or even email us at WNWS@OptionsPlayers.com. Damian Stevens posted a comment on Options Players YouTube about our last show that reads, the discussion about crypto was interesting and the USD is backed by future earnings of the US. So this to me is utterly ridiculous that we're in that situation and we're taking off the gold standard. We are literally printing money backed by nothing physical that you can hold in your hand. That sounds like crypto to me. Why are we in trillions of debt? Because we can't just print money out of thin air backed by a supposed future earnings. Okay, how do you really feel?
I think that's not a question. I think that's,
I know. Well, yeah,
true.
it's just a comment. He's commenting on YouTube. You should see these comments on YouTube, man. They go at it. John Edwards wrote, it's always funny to hear USD is backed by future earnings in the US. Couldn't all countries' currencies say that? LOL. Okay, yeah, I think so.
We also got an email question from Damon Bass in Denver, Colorado. Damon asks, with the war on everyone's mind, are airline stocks to play here while being down? Don't they hedge well against fuel costs? Well, fuel prices are rising, but don't the airlines just bank off these situations, meaning they hedge in advance? Is Jets a good buy here at a 52-week low? Well, personally, I bought Jets at the 52-week high. Go figures, but I'm still hodling.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you answered that. I was waiting for Greg, but you answered it.
Oh, no, that's
okay.
like, Greg, weigh in on Jets. What do you think about this one? We were talking about the ETFs for
so that sector is a hot one. So first, let's not even discuss the war side, because what we're looking at it now is there's a war. So companies like Boeing and Nostrum and stuff, they're going to produce more planes. Well, first off, it's not a world war. And if it is a war,
wait, hold on.
Huh?
I don't know what news you're watching, but everyone's involved with the Ukrainian war, whether they're shipping javelins
they're
or
sending them like anti-tank missiles. They're not building planes and giving them to Ukraine. We're not spending any extra money on planes here. All right. And most likely those would be types of drones. So really, take Boeing, for example, where's their money really coming from right now? They really want that MAX out
MAX,
there, right?
I can't believe the
Right?
MAX, it took them 3 years to get it right. And obviously there was some COVID delays there. And then the US planes did not have the missing sensor that the European planes that went down had. But yeah, the MAX, the numbers are phenomenal. The number of planes these guys are shipping.
So what does that really do for travel? We have COVID, which miraculously just disappeared in our minds because of Ukraine. But we
a week before Ukraine, it went from pandemic to endemic. And you know when it died, Greg, because that's when the Democratic states said no more masks, which blew my mind. And in New York, they no longer have to fake look at your vaccine documentation to go to the restaurant.
I think we've been in an endemic for the last couple months. We've been calling it an endemic for the last couple months.
We started that trend here on What's Next Wall Street.
I think we did. But anyway,
it is.
Carry on.
This is the thing with Boeing, right? So they fly, of course, a lot of Europe, going Europe to Asia. I mean, Americans, we're stuck in our America. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you go overseas, there's so much travel between Asia and Europe. And now they can't cross Russia. And if you ever flown in a plane and you ever wondered where the quickest point is from point A to point B, it's not like a straight line on the globe. I'm gonna try to grab something here and explain it.
You're gonna talk about?
Are you gonna get up out of your house and just go?
Right, so
no, he's gonna talk about the Great Circle map.
This is a globe, okay?
Are you gonna talk about the Great Circle?
We don't go here to here, right?
Okay.
They would go up like this.
Yeah,
right?
the Great Circle.
Right,
There's a
and
cool
that's
website for this.
What's it called?
The
Great Circle Mapper.
It's a globe. It's a shorter distance at the top. And guess what country covers all of that?
Russia.
Right? So, I mean, the majority of Russia is actually in Asia. Just the western part of it is in what we consider Europe. The rest of it is definitely in Asia. So almost all of that, which almost every flight would fly through, Russia controls, right? So now what is that going to do with Boeing? So I think the China, what China does in their travel agency is going to make the biggest impact. So I don't think Russia's going to stop China from flying around.
No.
But that's
They're
a
homies.
little bit out of my wheelhouse there politically in this, what's travel. I don't see the war thing, and we can go back and look at wars, and some companies do great in wars. Like the war on terror was great for defense contractors. Major World War III with global powers going at it, everything gets shut down. Those companies aren't going to make mad profits because they're going to have to do it at cost, right? They're going to have to help their country. They'll get probably, money in the back end or something, but I don't see it really helping. If anything, we're coming off the COVID pandemic now. We don't, because masks somehow don't work anymore. So now you can travel. But
are you talking about COVID theater? I mean, we had such great quotes.
Y'all are such conspiracy theorists.
Greg,
I can't take it.
My small town, they just canceled, I think United or whoever was flying out of the nearest airport to me is no longer flying. They're going to leaving this year. And then that's happening across America. The smaller airports aren't getting as much service. So what does that really tell you? Doesn't tell you that people don't want to travel. It's just how booked are these flights? I haven't really flown. I guess you have. Are they like packed or they're just empty now?
I was just in Houston, and
but you're doing major DFW, Houston.
Cities,
those are top 10
they're
cities.
packed.
So yeah.
But
Yeah,
Greg,
they were
the
packed 6
ETFs
months
are
ago.
all that's not like Boeing. Those are more of the airlines like United, American, etc. But they don't have plane manufacturers or engines in this sector for jets, do they?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying is they're all combined. So if the travel industry is booming, of course they're buying Boeing planes, they're buying everybody else. And then, so they're all really tight. There is no money in airlines. I'm just going to let you know that there's not. Look, airlines there's about 4 companies. They always merge because they're all about to go bankrupt. They have to drop the prices to compete. It's just, it's not a lot of money. I bet if you actually look at their fundamentals, government subsidies is probably holding them up, keeping them profitable. And that's about it. It's just not. Look how many failed airlines there are. There's too many of them. And then everybody that gets rich wants to start their airline. That used to be the thing back in like the 80s and going in the 90s. So like, I'm rich, I'm going to buy an airline. It was like the keeping up with the Joneses. I'm going to buy an airline.
I guess that's so if you're rich, you can write off your travel by the losses maybe. But I don't know. I miss Pan Am and Braniff and the 747 my friends and I put together for Burning Man. That was my favorite flight. So,
Humble
all
brag.
Greg. Thank you.
Next question comes from Shannon in Little Rock, Arkansas. Shannon asks, what are the major, let's see what she's saying here. What are the major trend lines to watch during these types of market corrections? Greg, give us a quick answer to that.
Well, that's what trend lines. So a regular trend line, I just say is connect the dot. You have them like this and it went below that on the bottom side. It's kind of hard to explain here using my hands, right? I like to use a moving average that I use. A lot of people say anything below like the 200, but you want it to go with the current flow of the trend. And normally people will say, it could be the 20 or something like that. I do teach a system that just back tests all the modern day market back to like 1980 and tells you what moving average worked the most. But that doesn't always mean that it works. It fails sometimes. But it did work very good this time. So I am currently bearish on the market until that turns around. But what trend? Like I said, pick a moving average that you like and stick to it. But really, just start connecting the dots and learning and practicing. Just don't go out there and say you're a trend master and start throwing money and lose it all, right?
All right, so I'll just take your course, right, on OptionsPlayers.com. That's what I'll do, or that's what you should do. If you have a question or a comment, share it with us on social media at What's Next Wall Street, in the comment section on our YouTube page, or you can, of course, email us at WNW@OptionsPlayers.com with your questions. Okay, let's talk about Athletic Greens. Let me tell you about something that I use every day. It's Athletic Greens. I started taking Athletic Greens because I really hate swallowing big old vitamins. I also don't like the idea of taking pills in the first place. So I wanted something that was healthy, but I didn't want something that tasted healthy, if you know what I mean. Athletic Greens has less than 1 gram of sugar, y'all. No GMOs, which is so important to me. Like, that's one of my top things. And it supports better sleep quality and recovery. It's the sleep quality for me, okay? Oh, and I like having a healthy gut too. That is so important for overall health. Athletic Greens is just too many things, too many good things, I should say. I've totally made it a part of my daily routine and I feel amazing. So Athletic Greens has made it so easy. They're going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/WNWS. That's athleticgreens.com/WNWS. Again, that is to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. I'm so glad I did.
All right, for those of you listening at home or Georgia, have you noticed that you may be getting spam email that looks like it's coming from Coinbase, PayPal, or another financial institution that presents itself as an alert for your accounts?
Yes.
With a warning that someone from another country is trying to access it?
Yes, that just happened to me.
What happened?
That just happened to me. I got an email and I was like, and my husband was like, do not open that email. And I was like, but it says I got to check it. So I called my bank and they're like, no, we never sent you that email. And I'm like, what?
Yep.
Yes.
So even
happened.
I had to do a double take. They did not misspell anything, which was the tell to me that these are some hackers with proofreaders or are state actors with higher budgets. Now, this is the latest in a string of hacking attempts, and it is a different tactic than what we've seen before. Let's call it the special hacking operation, acting like they are here to protect you. Sound familiar?
Yes.
I thought so. Now, you need to be extra cautious about emails that say someone is trying to use your account from some other country, as these are attacks that try and take over your account by a supposedly helpful email that looks like it's coming from the company itself. Now, the way they hack you is the links that the email use are through a server that may too look like the legitimate vendor that you've received the email from, but the input fields for the forms are there to store and copy your credentials. Now, if they use your login and you don't have a second factor of authentication turned on, then they can take over your account. Now, sometimes they'll have a setup that's configured to immediately log onto your account and ask for the second factor text message sent to your phone.
Ooh.
Then they can change your login as long as they keep you engaged for the amount of time that these notifications are going into your account or to your mobile phone. Now, it's quite complex to handle this type of interaction, but by introducing fear into your psyche, they're able to keep you on the hook in order to pull this very complex process off. So do this to thwart it.
Okay.
If you ever get an email or a text message that says your account is compromised, don't click on the links that are in that message. Like with you calling, that was probably a pain because you had to wait through like phone tree hell, right?
Yes.
But you can go to the URL of the site where the supposed vulnerability is. So Coinbase.com or PayPal.com, whatever. If you're careful, you can touch and hold the link on the iPhone or right-click on the email link in order to see where it goes. It'll pop up the little URL bar, and you can see if it's a URL shortener or a misspelling of the legitimate company. This is a tell. Don't click on it, though, as they then know you're a legitimate email account. And
no, see, I will screw around and accidentally click on it. You know, everything's gone.
It's better to not click, but the nerd in me wants to do this. So how do you fix this?
Okay.
1, set up a complex password for your accounts. A phrase you can remember works best for this, like I'm Dave on What's Next Wall Street, and use a different login and phrase for your services. By the way, that's not my password.
I think it is. I'm going to try it.
And number 2, you should add a second factor authentication via text message or an application like Authenticator in the iTunes Store or Google Play Store to ensure that only you can log in. Now, 3, don't click on the links or messages that come into your account unless you have requested it. Some services require you to click on a one-time code in an email or type in a string of numbers from an email or text message if you log in. Especially if you're on a new smartphone, a new computer or browser, then you'll get these links that you request, right? This is so tricky these days.
Yeah,
These
it's
guys
a
are
lot.
getting These guys are getting so sharp with this. So, a new and broad cyber warfare is underway as Putin has his minions dropping indiscriminate bombs on non-military assets like apartments and schools, and his hackers are staying up late at night to do the same for your digital assets. So, be safe out there, kids.
So AMC is testing a new pricing model with variable pricing for tickets starting with the release of The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz. Have you seen it? Okay, I saw it over the weekend.
Batman.
It's called The Batman. Yes, how about this? It was 3 hours long with my 7-year-old. It was.
How many trips to the bathroom was that?
Oh my gosh. Well, just once, but
and you don't drink, but how many bottles of wine did you go through?
I know, right? But we rented a theater and he was up and down the aisles. It's a good thing we rented a theater because he would have been driving people crazy. So anyway, so good. It's still good, but it's just too long. So this new pricing model could mean paying more for new releases than other movies playing in the same theater. Now, the company CEO says that AMC has been using variable pricing in Europe for years. AMC previously started charging more for weekend showtimes compared to midweek prices. It's already a gazillion dollars, by the way, to take my candy popping, popcorn loving, slurpy slurping Rugrats to the movies now. How much more could it be? Meanwhile, I'd rather buy candy at the store, popcorn and soda from Target, and spend $20 on the newest animated movie streaming on Netflix in my house, or buy a game for my kids to stream. It's so much cheaper. Netflix just gets it. Now, the streaming giant is looking to target gaming with its latest acquisition. The company has offered to buy mobile game maker Next Games, the Finnish studio behind the hit Netflix show Stranger Things. You watch Stranger Things?
No, but I hear it's clever.
Oh my gosh, it's clever. I could kill you. Anyway, they're behind that mobile game. Netflix is planning to pay around $2.33 per share of the Next Games for a total value of about $72 million. Now, the deal is expected to close around the second quarter. So Netflix is coming for Sony and Microsoft. Their stock is kind of pricey, but I feel like it's only going to go up from here. So Greg, I need to know, is now a good time to buy?
Netflix, right?
Netflix, yes. I mean, it's pricey. But
yeah, I mean, Netflix, I just got a message, I think in my email, that they're going to like $19 an hour.
But it's so much cheaper. You get
$19 a month.
An hour.
Yeah, but you
wow,
get,
that's
but how about
like
this?
AOL prices, right?
Okay. But you get like a month. You can watch. Look how many movies you get to watch for an entire month for $19.
Good. They're about to up it. Nobody's going to cancel Netflix.
I will never cancel it.
I think like 4 years ago, I remember telling the teleprompter guy that I got 2 Netflix subscriptions. I got one for the rental stuff that gets sent to you and one for the streaming. I didn't even know they were separate. So I canceled one of them. But the other one, I think, was like $9 then. Now it's $19.99. And I literally had a job doing nothing for a very long time when I was training some people. And I would spend 10 hours a day watching people do stuff. And then I'd have Netflix up there. So I've seen like everything. But it was so now I think Netflix is good. It's not overly priced with how the market's priced. But yeah, AMC, well, it's overpriced because although the CEO said it wasn't going to go bankrupt this year or next year, you already know my thoughts on that.
Yeah, but okay, so that was the meme stocks, right? They were caught up in that. And I got to tell you, Greg, around Dallas, when you drive by a movie theater,
crowded,
the parking lots are packed.
You can't get a park. You got to let somebody. Yes, you got to have somebody let you out of the car. You go get the tickets, and then them park because it's crazy. I mean, it's really. But Dallas, I don't know about other cities, but Dallas is one of these cities where we like to go. Our restaurants continue to be crowded. Our malls. Most malls are closing. Our malls, you can't find a park at the mall. Our malls stay crowded. We're shoppers and eaters in Dallas. So I don't know if we're like normal.
I mean, I know where you live. You know, I come up there all the time. So how many new movie theaters have been built in the last 3 years?
Oh, well.
Is this a trick question?
How many
I know.
people from California moved to North Dallas and Plano and Fresco? Like 50 million, right?
Yeah.
I'm just joking, but
I mean, a lot.
So the population has just gotten out of control. The city has blown up in 3 years, but there hasn't been one movie theater built. So basically, they were already packed, and now they're packed. But if they don't expand, that's the problem. And are they all AMC? I think And the ones I do like are the ones where you can eat dinner and drink.
Yeah,
Get
so let's
the-
talk about that. So
Those
there's
are
a hiring shortage right now. So these restaurants where you have to order food and drink, think about it. You've got to get everybody seated. Where what does the theater hold? Like 200 people in some cases. Then you have
I
to
don't
send
think those
people.
hold that much, but yeah.
Well, with the, I don't know, maybe it's 70, whatever the number is, right? Then you have to get people to take the orders for all those people. Then before the movie's over, you have to get all the credit cards for these people. So I'm working with a company in Plano, Texas called One Dine, and they put the QR codes that are glow in the dark, which is so
Oh,
cool.
that's so much better than I hate it when I have to search for it. I'm like, oh, can I give me a phone
Yeah, so
light?
it's glowing on the table in front
That's
of you.
awesome.
You scan the QR code with your phone. You can now order. You can keep ordering, and now you don't have to like wait to the last 30 minutes. You can order all the way through the movie and then pay automatically before you leave the theater. And that's the kind of optimization that I think we really needed. And it took, the QR code was the most boring thing ever in 2005 when the Japanese invented it. And they invented it because the Japanese character set on mobile phones was way more than the 26 characters that we have. It's like 4,000 characters in Japan or whatever the number is. So the QR code never had a better year. And it's these kinds of utilities where you can order pay at the table or at the movie seat that I think are really going to optimize for our convenience.
Yeah,
Now, you're
because
still
otherwise
paying-
otherwise I just want to watch Netflix at home and I'm buying a big thing of popcorn that will last me for a month and candy, and I got the kids, watching a movie while I'm taking a nap. So that's the
Yeah.
only way you're going to get me out of the movies, out to the movies. This is why I saw the Batman, and it was the first time I've been actually out to a movie in forever because, of course, COVID, and we rented a theater because, of course, I know you guys think COVID is fake, but I think it's real. So I'm not going into a movie theater with 1 million people. So, we rented that theater, and it was so much fun actually going into the movie and ordering popcorn. I can't wait to get back to that, and I'm glad.
What does it cost to rent a movie theater, Georgia? What kind of baller are you?
No.
I know
no,
you're a
no,
baller.
No, it
But I
was
didn't know
real.
you were that much
Guess what?
baller.
We saw it very early in the morning, and
okay.
so we got it in off times, and so
right,
shut
all
your
right.
mouth.
AMC's real issue is it's competing against Netflix, and everybody else is just going straight to streaming. But during COVID, remember, they borrowed so much money, especially when the price went high. In the meme, the CEO just came out and said, well, I'm going to sell stock, like that's amazing to do it. I mean, it's smart. But I think they're about, don't quote me on this, somewhere like 5 billion in debt or in corporate borrowings in the last few years. They're losing, probably $1 billion every 2 years. They're not making money. So when that borrowed cash runs out, it runs out.
No wonder they're going up on their ticket prices. But again, I mean, I loved going to the movies, but there's so much on streaming, and I have every streaming channel, and it's still cheaper. If I went to the movies once a weekend, like every Friday, it would still be cheaper for me to have Netflix, Prime, HBO, all the ones that I have, Disney. It's still cheaper for me to do that and watch a movie at home with the kids.
Instead of stacking gains, it sounds like you're stacking services.
And stacking pounds because I eat so much popcorn.
funny.
Yes.
All right, everybody. We want to thank lead instructor at Options Players, Greg Krause, for being here with us today.
Yes, and remember, if you've got questions, we can try to help you answer them, and we would love to hear from you. Email us at WNWS@OptionsPlayers.com or hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street, and we're there.
You can, of course, watch episodes of What's Next Wall Street on the YouTube channel for Options Players or listen on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you subscribe and hit the alert button so that you get current trending info as soon as it drops. I'm Dave Matthews, and my heart is out with all those Ukrainians suffering right now.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm Georgia Alfredas. We will see you next time on What's Next Wall Street.